Welcome to Prioritize Your Life and PrioritizeYourLife.com. Today is going to be a little different for me, at least, which is kind of fun because I actually know Adam and Holly pretty well. How long did we work for? 3.5 years together, something like that?
Yeah.
Maybe had lunch together, maybe at least 2 or 3 times a week during all of those weeks. So good times. Those of you that don't know Adam and Holly, they are amazing, amazing people, wonderful examples of how engaged parents should be. I would try and list all of the awesome things you guys have started up and do, but just I look up to you guys as just a really awesome example and wonderful parents. And I know you have some incredible stories too, and I've probably only heard a little bit of some of them. So thanks for coming and sharing with all of us.
Yeah, you bet.
Part of what I try and do with these is just cue it up a little bit and then stay out of the way. So I'm just going to turn the time over to you and excited to hear the story.
Cool. Well, it's kind of funny because I never thought that we would ever share this story in particular.
He doesn't like to share his feelings. Share with other people.
One of those men.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Well, I've come a long way though. 10 years ago, like when we first started doing Facebook and stuff, like Holly would share something on Facebook and I'd be like, stop it. Like
a birthday. I mean, like an everyday okay thing to share on Facebook. And he'd be like, why are you telling people about our life?
Yeah, I hate that. Like,
people don't need to know about our life.
People don't need to know about our life. And now here we are. But over the years...
Telling you about our life.
But over the years, yeah, I've just felt like obviously this, not connecting, not sharing, not
being vulnerable
with others helps no one, right? So here we are. I never thought that I would share this story in particular. It's a very sacred story, but with the world and everything that's going on right now, if it can inspire or help someone to take comfort in and realize that there is a higher power out there, then it's worth it. So this particular story starts. So my wife and I we've had 2 kids, 2 boys, and we were going to have our 3rd child in a little town in Idaho. And we actually just last night watched this or read in our journals so we could remember all the details.
Yes, we did. We read our journals.
And I'd forgotten that it started at 4 in the morning, and we woke up and we were gonna go get induced at the local hospital there.
Just me, not him.
Yeah.
I like that he says we though, because he was obviously involved in that. So we went to the hospital. We were there at 4, and the weird thing was, and I'd forgotten this too, but they didn't know that we were coming for some reason. Like they thought it was we were scheduled at a different hospital or something. Yeah, different hospital at a different time. So
it was really weird. But they're like, okay, yeah, let's start and let's do it. And so we started, and she was given the Pitocin, and we sat down, and I was, I think, doing something on my phone. And
he's on his phone. Yeah.
And she was sitting there, and then all of a sudden she just like jumped up in pain and was like, go get the nurse. And I was like, what? Just kind of like, what's going on? And like started.
It was the worst pain I had ever felt in my life, and I'd had 2 babies before. And I was like, I can't handle this. Like, I would rather die than be in this much pain. And it was all of a sudden. And usually when you have a baby, it's like little by little, okay, now it's getting worse, now it's getting worse. That was just like 0 to 10 in an instant. I couldn't handle it, and I couldn't even like yell and scream like I wanted to. That was how much pain I was in. So just letting you know how I really felt.
Yeah, and so she... because I was just going to press the button or whatever, and she's like, no, go and get the nurse. And like so I like ran out, and we were all by ourselves, so I ran out and went and got the nurse, and we're coming back in, and when we got back in, she was convulsing, foaming at the mouth, and I was just like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And then after just a little bit, her eyes just rolled back and she just stopped and she was gone. And I was just like crying, and like the monitors were going crazy. And by that time, some more people were coming in, and I was just like realizing, and it was pretty selfish, I guess, but I was just like, I'm a single dad. This is like the worst thing ever. And just thinking about, just that I was a single dad. And then all of a sudden I had a thought come to my mind, give her a blessing. So I put my hands on her head and I gave her a blessing or a prayer, and prayed for her. And I don't even remember what I said at all, honestly.
I remember what he said. Because that's when I came to. And all I remember was feeling so much pain, telling him, go get the nurse. And then I blacked out. I didn't remember anything up to the point of hearing my name. And he said my name in that prayer. And that's when I came to, was I heard my name first. And all of a sudden I just opened my eyes and I couldn't talk. I couldn't talk for a half an hour. And I think that was one of the scariest moments of my life, because I could see what was going on. I didn't understand it, but I could see my husband. I could see the nurses and the doctors yelling at the nurses. There was a lot of anger in the room and frustration, and I knew it was all about me. I was the cause of all this, and I couldn't talk. And that was really scary for me, because I had this thought, I hope I can talk again. I hope that eventually I'll be able to say something. And then what happened was I remember Adam like taking my hand and just holding onto his hand and like making eye contact with him. Like I could somehow let him know, I'm okay, I'm back. And when it was about a half an hour later, and then I could finally talk again. And I remember finally like trying to just concentrate on that oxygen and breathing. And then
I had to have oxygen too.
Yeah,
by the way.
they came. We both had our oxygen with us. I'm just like, give him oxygen, please.
Because I was like,
I need him.
I was messed up.
He was panicking a little bit, more than a little. But so I had my oxygen. And I was concentrating on breathing, and then when I finally could say something, I said, I don't know what happened, but that was really bad. Like, I was like saying those random stuff. Like, that was bad, but I'm okay now. And that's what I said. I wanted to reassure him, I'm okay. I'm here. I'm alert.
Yeah.
And
so we ended up running. They ran a bunch of tests. We got MRI, and then they just wanted to get the baby out, and so had an emergency C-section, and
that was fun.
yeah, and we had our little Marie,
our little girl,
and it turned out to be okay, and it was a miracle, and just very grateful and happy that there is a higher power out there that's watching out for us, and we felt both, since then and during the whole event, and especially after that, he's got a plan for each of us, and when it's our time, it's our time, and when it's not, it's not. And so yeah, that was it's just a crazy experience.
Yeah, and I went back in my journal to try and to see if I'd written down, well, what do the medical records say? Like, what really happened? And we know a lot that didn't happen, because they thought that I had had a stroke, but then I didn't. They thought that I had had a seizure, but I didn't. And they thought, oh, a blood clot in the lungs, but I didn't. And I thought it was my heart, but they weren't monitoring my heart at the time. They were monitoring the baby's heart, and she had big problems. Her heart rate
flatlined
went
for like 3 minutes or
super
something.
low, and that was scary. But the doctors, honestly, they didn't agree with each other, and so the medical records are like a disaster. They don't even make sense, because one doctor says this and one doctor says this.
And it was so crazy too, because when it was happening, it was like I was just like sitting there in shock after her eyes rolled back and she was like just gone, and the monitors were going crazy. there was doctors just running everywhere. No one was like paying any attention to her. I was like,
no one's doing anything.
No one's doing anything. Like it was just crazy. They were all looking at monitors and stuff, and but then that thought popped in my head, and
yeah,
thankfully
you can do something.
You can do something. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and we don't want to, of course, like blame doctors, because I think a lot of the time people do that too easily. They say, "Oh, yeah, it's the doctor's fault," but the doctors weren't even there. So, and yet they're responsible, and they're supposed to, write on medical records. They're supposed to be the one that is liable, for everything that happens, and they weren't even in the room, and of course they don't know what happened. So after all those tests, I'm just grateful that I have a husband who could really just listen and know that, God is a part of our life, and he's a part of each one of our lives, every single one of us, because all of us can listen to that, just listen to that feeling inside of you that you are a child of God. God cares about you, and he can help you through whatever you're going through. So, and I know that I'm grateful that he was there to call me back, because I was not ready to go anywhere anytime soon. So,
man, we became pretty good friends over those years, and I think you mentioned a little bit of it, but I remember you saying back then, like, yeah, I really didn't want to have any more kids after that. I don't want to lose my wife. How many kids do you guys have now?
So we have five now.
Yeah. Yeah.
We still only have one daughter, though. She's our one daughter.
Okay.
And then we had two, but I wanted to have more children. Adam's like, well,
I gave the caveat, only if you promise that you're not going to
not die. Promise.
Okay, well, hey,
promise.
It worked out. So,
and I said, well, we'll just schedule another C-section, and I won't go into labor. We definitely won't, do the Pitocin and induced labor thing, and so it's been okay. I haven't died. If I have to say that. But we've had two more sons since then, so we feel blessed and have our little family, big family. Big family.
That's interesting too, after all this time, that you still don't necessarily really know what the cause was, and there's people that are guessing. I think there's a lot of correlations to what's happening in the world today right now, even like with the virus, because there's some people that are trying to blame it, or who knows what to do, and you should do this and you should do that. But I think, like always, and what we're taking away from a lot of these stories is it's pretty easy to try and push blame somewhere, but whatever's going on, we should probably always take a deep breath and just pray.
Yeah.
I think that's always good advice.
Yeah.
When you don't know what to do, take a deep breath and pray, because someone else is there that knows a lot more than us, and he wants us to listen to him.
Yep, follow that inner guidance. Yep.
Thanks so much for coming and sharing your story, and maybe I can convince you to come another time, because I know that you probably have like 100 more of these stories, because I know how awesome you guys are. So maybe we'll see you again.
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.